So I think the reason for me why restoration's a priority for Europe is that we've spent the last 10,000 years since the end of the Ice Age gradually transforming more and more of the landscapes of Europe, making them more and more human, and we've reduced nature to a very small share of those landscapes, and it's a great time to start pushing back the other way and making space for nature, to the non-human nature, to make its own choices. So it's about that. It's about making space for nature. In terms of what's realistic for landscape scale restoration in Europe, it's a very crowded place. There's lots of us around, there's lots of built infrastructure. So I think what's realistic is about changing the terms of sharing landscapes. So it's about making landscapes where nature has more of a say in what happens, and perhaps humans step aside and leave that space and opportunity. The biggest challenges for restoration in Europe, it seems to me, are to do with finding connected ecosystems, finding spaces that nature can inhabit, and also dealing with legacies of pollution. The one that intrigues me is probably nitrogen, pouring out of almost everything that we do, polluting watercourses and landscapes and wetlands, and leaving us quite a difficult legacy. My favourite example of successful conservation is probably the National Trust's Wicken vision, where they built on an established and old, one of the oldest nature reserves in the UK, a tiny piece of remnant fenland, and they've started to acquire farmland in the landscape around it and let that land go back to natural processes. And it's an open-ended restoration vision. It's a 100-year vision. It's not something with a finished and completed plan. And that seems to me really exciting. The other project I really like is up in Scotland, one of the Wildlife Trust's living landscapes, Coigarch and Assynt living landscape up on the West Highlands, where you've got all sorts of different landowners, conservation landowners, estates, local crofting, buyout estates and so on, all working together to try and deliver a shared vision for the landscape. I think that's very exciting.